All right, we are back, and like we promised, we're together, and a couple failures on location, but we are here at the Jackson Amphitheater, our first ever live podcast, which is pretty incredible. Good seeing you guys.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's just very fortunate.
Welcome
Very
back
excited.
home. It's a pleasure to have you both back home here. Welcome.
So today's Friday, posting this on Saturday. Joe Thomas induction is tomorrow, but let's talk about Jets-Browns. Went to the Hall of Fame this morning, but Jets-Browns was the main event last night. So Drew, let's go to you first. Your thoughts on the game, thoughts on the Browns.
Yeah, sure. I got sort of good, bad, ugly for all the aspects, but I mentioned this last week, and I do want to shout it out again. There has been an awful lot of work and improvements and all kinds of new features at the Hall of Fame. If you haven't been there, I know, Ryan, you were just there. If you haven't been in the last couple of years, definitely recommend coming back to our hometown. Check it out. It is worth seeing it at least once or twice in your lifetimes, and a bunch of new stuff if you have been before. So please come on back. It's they do an awesome job there, which actually brings me, I'm going to go to the ugly first, is the lights at the stadium. I feel like there's always some sort of extenuating circumstance with the actual game itself. Like last year, a couple of years back, if we all remember, it was the paint on the field dried weird, and like the field was unusable. Before that, there was like a lightning that strike within a couple of miles of the game, so they shut that down. There was the work stoppage one year where the only thing that they missed was the Hall of Fame game. I feel like there's always something about this game that doesn't go perfectly, but maybe that's part of the charm of it. We're just starting out. Welcome back to football. So that's the piece that I noticed as the ugly. Would love for that to be a little better. Move on to the bad that I have next. I have Cade York and Anthony Schwartz. I don't know if you all remember the very first kickoff. It went right through Hassan Hall's hands and out the back of the end zone. And I thought, like, oh my God, that's such a metaphor for the Cleveland Browns in general. And but it got a little better. They went right down the field, and then they just totally biffed the field goal from Cade York. And then the very next series, Anthony Schwartz just hands them the ball for another field goal, and they're instantly down 6-0. So that part obviously wasn't great, which brings me to the good news. Put up the clock, put up the timer, the calendar, the advent calendar. Here on Friday the 4th, we have 24 more days until Anthony Schwartz is cut from this football team. So that's the first part. But no, on a serious note, the good news I have, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Triple H. I tried to figure out a way to get that reference in there, but there's one. We'll refer to him by the initials. He was fantastic. 8 for 11, 82 yards passing. He added 36 yards rushing, and that offense seemed to really click when he was on the field. They scored 2 touchdowns in one half of football, and he was fantastic. I'm looking forward to watching him play throughout this preseason, and then hopefully we don't have to see him again the rest of the year. So that's my big key takeaway on the good side. Really excited to see more of him.
So it was a Jets-heavy broadcast. A lot of focus on the Jets. Even though the Browns were playing until the game started. But Eric, what are your thoughts? Good, bad, ugly, how the Browns performed?
Yeah, I could have sworn that Aaron Rodgers was the head coach of the Jets. I mean, he had his mic in. He was chatting with the announcers out the whole game. It was barely even showed most of the other players, but that being said, I'm glad the Browns got some covers. But yes, it was obviously a Jets-heavy pre-game, in-game, post-game feature of NBC. That being said, I kind of got three individuals I want to spotlight for the good. You got Cedric Tillman, the rookie from Tennessee. Had only 2 catches for 35 yards, but he moved the chains on a 3rd and 13. I want to see more from him, and I think we will. I hope he can crack into that top 4 receiver after Elijah Moore, DPJ, and Amari Cooper. You get that solid 4th receiver who knows the availability of Marquise Goodwin, and then you have a couple guys, David Bell, Anthony Schwartz. Well, for now you do. We'll see about in 24 days. So yeah, I really like to see his first go. Has been pretty impressive, and I like to see what he can do from here on out. Caleb Biggers, you have to take a defender. So he played pretty decently at corner, had a couple passes defended. Don't expect him to necessarily make the team, but hopefully he can make the practice squad and maybe be a part-time special teamers if his number's ever called. We need depth there. We have depth there, and I want that to continue. And last but not least, Austin Watkins. Hopefully we can rectify the mistake that Ray Farmer made by not taking his uncle, Sammy Watkins. So now we have Austin Watkins. He had the game-winning touchdown reception. Again, likely won't be on the team, but maybe a practice squad can develop into that fifth or sixth receiver down the road. So, a couple of younger guys that I am intrigued with, and I like to see what they do against Washington next Friday. The bad, to Drew alluded to, Cade York. I don't expect him to be, one of the best kickers of all time. However, it seems like he's getting one or two opportunities, and he's not making the most of them. He missed the 49-yarder. He barely made an extra point. A lot of people are speculating it's all mental now. He obviously can drive the ball very far, so hopefully he can correct what is ailing him at this moment. There's no other backup currently on the roster, so they gotta, hopefully talk with him, get some help, whatever they need to do. But he's got to make those kicks on a rather consistent basis. Again, doesn't have to be Justin Tucker, but let's be consistent here. You saw how many games came down to the kicks. The Carolina game, the Chargers game, one in a win, one in a loss. The Atlanta game too, and the Baltimore away game. So there are a lot of opportunities out there, and I'm going to suspect that there are going to be similar opportunities this year. So he's got to come through in the clutch. So not off to a good start, but he can work his way back into the good graces. The ugly, I'm going to have to go with Kellen Mond. Didn't have a terrible game. He did throw a touchdown pass. He's also in his third year. It is a third-round pick. I would expect him to outperform a fifth-round, I believe, rookie pick, and he did not. I know he's going up against better competition than Dorian Thompson-Robinson was, but he left a lot to be desired, and I think he's on the outside looking in on this team. So, obviously things can change, but I didn't like what I saw for his first outing with the Cleveland Browns. So, that was kind of my takeaways. Overall, I thought the team played okay, a little sloppy on special teams. That's to be expected with guys that probably won't be on the team in September. But, excited to see where we go from here and like to see the improvements that we see starting next week.
Cade York missing that kick. Scary. What was it, Zerline?
Yeah.
For the Jets.
Greg, he played for the St. Louis Rams.
Just keep the kicker. How about we do that and not get rid of them as a snap reaction, as we often do? We can't get rid of our quarterbacks as quickly, so we have to get rid of kickers.
Yeah, that's good.
Put it through the uprights.
Yeah.
They got one job.
The good, I really liked Joe Thomas's interview that he had. He had his son beside him, just a stand-up dude, and he's really the focus of the weekend. He's the main event, yes, because he's the Cleveland Brown. Going to bring the fans into Canton tomorrow. Will be the last one on. But just with a lot of the media that they've had today, Joe has been the focus. So I think it's going to be a big celebration. A Brown that has been in part of our worst times. Eric, what are some of your memories of Joe Thomas?
So I remember we were at your apartment in Chicago for the draft. And I remember that you had told people it was at noon, but we were in Central Time Zone, so it was really 11 o'clock. So most people came an hour after it had already happened, a.k.a. Joe Thomas had been drafted. I was like jumping up and down with excitement that we drafted an offensive lineman because I knew he was the right pick. We had not had many draft picks that were right, if any, to that point, and he was the right pick. Fortunately, we got it right that time. And then I do remember we were up on the roof top, and we were told to come back down. The Browns had traded, which eventually became Brady Quinn. Not as successful, but this is go to Joe Thomas. Had a great draft pick. I remember the 10,363 consecutive snaps. I remember I was at a birthday party for a one of my kids' friends, and the injury happened against the Titans. The whole room just stopped talking. It was like a shock and awe. and just being really bummed about that. But he had a tremendous career. All the just consistency. I mean, you would talk to friends during games when he didn't look perfect. Like, oh my gosh, he missed that block. That guy sacked the quarterback. And that was few and far between. Just a model of consistency. Seems like a great guy. Hopefully I meet him one day. And I do love the fishing story with his dad. That's really cool. If I were, obviously I won't be, ever be in a draft. I'd be good.
Hey, let's never say
get a little bit outside my window. But if I were
this far in high school, you had that
definitely not.
That one. Roar for the playoff game.
Right.
It's Canal Fulton.
Come
on.
Something like that. But yeah, so if I ever were, that would be something I'd want to be, out of the spotlight, doing my own thing. If they, get that phone call to say, hey, you're going to get taken by X team, that's great. But no, yeah. So, a lot of good memories. Unfortunately, never really had anything impact directly with a touchdown, but that's okay. He allowed others to score those touchdowns. And yeah, very excited to hear his speech tomorrow and be proud as a Browns fan.
We'll see where you receive that call to the Accounting Hall of Fame.
Accounting Hall of Fame still open.
All right, Drew. Hunkier NFL analyst Brady Quinn, Joe Thomas.
Well, Brady Quinn for sure. That's a no-brainer. But it's funny. I've told this story once before in a podcast, but I have to do it again. Shout out Steve Hurst, fan of the podcast. This is 2007 draft, and I'm back at my alma mater, University of Delaware. And my buddy Steve, he had this big party, and I'm going to fully admit this. There were more of us than people care to admit, but I was a Brady Quinn at 3 guy in that draft. I swore up and down Brady Quinn's going to be an incredible quarterback. He's got all the intangibles, and he has what I thought was a good arm. Obviously, I was mistaken, but when they made the mistake of not taking Brady Quinn at 3 and instead taking some offensive lineman from Wisconsin, I decided I was going to just drink my sorrows away and go mingle about the party. And a couple this is when I want to say the first, there was 15, 20 minutes anyway, forever. And so the Browns trade back, and I'm talking to people. I'm just whatever I'm doing and what you do at parties when you're 22 years old, you can imagine. And my buddy Steve is like, you need to come back and something has happened in this draft and you need to see it. And I'm just like, whatever, man, right? They didn't get my guy, forget it. I don't care. And that is an unacceptable answer. And Steve's sort of a big dude. He picks my ass up and marches me. And I'm punching him. I'm kicking him. I'm flailing around, and he picks my drunk ass up, walks me back, and throws me in front of the TV. And he's like, look, and that's when I became aware that they had traded for Brady Quinn. It's that was my memory of that draft, but it was an awesome, awesome day. And my memory specifically of Joe Thomas, I'll never forget, was the 2009 game, the Josh Cribbs Steelers game when they finally beat him. And on one of the runs, Joe Thomas put that schoolboy James Farrier on his ass, and I remember screaming at the TV about watching it happen. And Joe Thomas had later sent a tweet out 5 or 6 years later after that. I forget what the context was, but I saw that picture again. I knew exactly where I was that day, watching it with some friends. And that's just a memory that I'll always have of that day when they finally ended that streak against that awful team, the last place Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, I mean. And, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the draft day. And I'll never forget how great he was. He was the lone bright spot and not a great time in our football lives. And I'll always thank him for that.
Yeah, he was a great player. We didn't have the wins to support him. It was right at the edge when we were starting to turn it around, where he got that injury, and there was questions of would Joe Thomas come back. But I think my memory of him is him today, of being an ambassador for Cleveland, for being such a the face of Cleveland, the positivity of Cleveland. I love what he's doing to come back and just being a positive force for the Browns. So just really enjoy, and we'll continue to enjoy his career for a very long time. Let me switch it up here. Next Brown in the Hall of Fame. If you've got to make a bet here, who's going to be the next Brown in the Hall of Fame? Is it on the team today?
I would think it sort of has to be almost, because I don't think any of the players that came before that are going to make it. If I had to pick one, I'm going to lean towards Joel Bitonio. Would be my first thought. It's hard to put a guard in the Hall of Fame when you have one sort of, you look at the team's success is really the only thing you can look at there. But he has certainly made a whole bunch of Pro Bowls. He's routinely an NFL All-Pro. So I have to think that he's going to be high on that list. And I say him ahead of the guy Eric's probably thinking of, Myles Garrett, because he's going to retire.
Well, Eric, who do you have?
Yeah,
I was thinking Myles Garrett, but then I had to think of I had to go to a secret world and think of Alex Mack.
No, you would. Secret world of Alex Mack.
I mean, he also had a tremendous career. Obviously, didn't finish his career with the Browns. Went to the Niners, but is another model of consistency. One of the best centers in the NFL. And I expect him down the road. I would like to have seen Clay Matthews. His chances are still there, but it seems like he just gets to the doorstep and can't knock down that door. So I'm going to go with the secret world of Alex Mack to say it one more time.
Okay. Well, then I'll go with Myles Garrett. It's incredible defensive end, and he just continues to be a force for the Browns. Hopefully he has another great year. Seems like he's ready for it.
He will.
So, yeah, guys, good seeing you. We'll see Joe. Congratulations to Joe. Great job, Canton. The Hall of Fame Village is just incredible to see all the growth that we've seen there. So it's been wonderful to be here. So good seeing you.
Awesome. And you guys, shout out to our producer, Nathan Yancer, fan of the podcast.
Congrats, Nathan.
Appreciate you helping us out, set up for this. Welcome back home, guys.
All right.